Hi there, so next thing I'm going to do for holiday treats is some French almond nougat. And I'm going to use my mixer for the start of this and then also over on the stove. To do this you need to do it in two parts. So the first part you're going to make, use egg whites and a sugar syrup and you mix that together. And then the second part is another sugar syrup, and then you add the two of them together and add all of your nuts, and that makes your French almond nougat. So to start out, I'm going to put 2 large egg whites that I have at room temperature into the bowl of my mixer. I'm going to pop my whisk attachment on. And I'm going to beat these until they're stiff. There we go. That's a much stiffer peak. So next I need to set up on the stove. So I've got a saucepan here, and in here I have 3/4 of a cup of light corn syrup, and I've got a 1/4 cup of water, and then to that I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sugar, and then we're going to pop this onto the stove. So let me get set up and I'll come back. Okay, so I've got this on the stove. I'm going to clip on my trusty candy thermometer since we're making candy again. So this is a little harder because it's a smaller vessel, but there we go. And we've got our, actually I might turn this around. There we go. Candy thermometer on, spoon ready. There we go. So I'm going to turn on the heat to high. And we're going to heat this on high until it comes to a boil. And we're going to keep stirring with a wooden spoon. This should take about 5 minutes. And then we're going to turn the heat down to medium heat, and we're only going to stir every once in a while, but we're going to bring it to 242 degrees Fahrenheit. Which it takes. Okay, so it started to boil. I'm going to turn my heat down to a medium, and we're going to let it boil and bring it to softball stage, which is 240 to 242. Which should take about 15 to 20 minutes, and you're going to just stir occasionally. Okay, and as I get closer to softball stage, you do want to be careful here because it is going to bubble over if it gets too hot. Like that. So I'm just going to pick it up off of the heat for a second here. And it's only made a minor mess, which is why you want it on a medium heat. So I'm actually going to turn my heat down a little bit more and stir a little bit. There we go. As I was saying, I'm going to move my camera over to our whipped egg whites so that when this hits softball stage, I can incorporate it back in. Okay, so my syrup has reached softball stage, 242 Fahrenheit. So on a medium speed, I'm going to whisk my sugar syrup in. And we're going to let that beat for about 3 to 4 more minutes. Okay, so that's the first part of our nougat, and I'll set up for the second part. Okay, so I'm ready to start the second part of our nougat. I have just left the first bit that we made in the bowl, so we'll use it straight in the bowl the next time. So in this saucepan, I have more corn syrup and more sugar. So this time I've got 1.5 cups of light corn syrup and 1.5 cups of sugar. So I'm going to turn the heat on to high. There we go. And I am going to stir constantly and bring this to a boil, and that should take probably 5 to 10 minutes. I've got my candy thermometer transferred from the other pan into this one because I'm going to need that again for this one as well. But let's bring that to a boil over a high heat first and then go from there. Okay, so this is now started to boil. I'm going to turn it down to a medium-high heat, and I'm going to cook it to 280, which is a soft crack stage, and that should take about 12 to 15 minutes. And while it's doing that, I'm not going to stir it at all. And while you're waiting for this to reach the soft crack stage, you can get your tin ready. So it's an 8 by 8 inch square tin, and I've just lined mine with a little bit of parchment on one, sort of mostly the bottom than anything, but up the sides just on one side. And that's covered with cooking spray or vegetable oil. Again, we're working with candy, so it's very sticky, so that makes it much easier to take out of the tin once it's cooled down to room temperature. Okay, so my syrup has reached soft crack stage, so I'm going to take my thermometer out, and without stirring this, I'm going to go over and pour it over top of the first part that we made that I have sat in the bowl. Now I've taken it out, so it's just the bowl. Actually, I'll bring the bowl over here. That works a bit better. Alright, so we're going to turn our heat off. There we go. And let's see how well I can balance everything. I'm going to pour this in all at once. Move you over here. That looks sort of sturdy. I've got my wooden spoon ready to go. We're going to pour that all on top of our first part. Hot syrup. Not stirring, but scraping a little, which you're not supposed to do either. And there we go. Cross arms, tea towel over, and then we're going to quickly stir this into the first part that we made. And you can hear it and see it sort of puff up quite a bit, and that makes our lovely nougat. So mix that all around. And now that we've done that, we need to add in our salt, which is a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. We are going to add in our melted butter that we had before, right there, and a teaspoon of vanilla, which again, I'm just using the vanilla bean paste because I really like seeing the little vanilla bean seeds in my nougat. There we go. So we're going to stir that in. You can see the butter is making it all nice and slippery now. And then we're going to add in, last but not least, our 3.5 cups of whole, raw, with their skin on almonds. Get those all mixed in there. Turn Try and get them as evenly distributed through your nougat as possible. There we go. And then we are just going to grab our pan, and that is our 8-inch square tin that's been coated with some oil or cooking spray, and I just have that piece of parchment that's overhanging on 2 ends, and then I'm just going to scrape out, be careful, the bowl's hot, my nougat. Oh, which is very sticky. There we go. Last chunk. Get all your almonds out. Oh, there you go. Now you can see. And then I'm just going to, it's pretty smooth on the top anyway. I'll just smooth that out a little bit. And it's very hot, so if you're doing this, be very careful. I'm actually not going to do that. There we go. Got all my almonds in there. Excellent. All right, now I'm going to leave that overnight to cool, and then I will come back and show you how to cut it up and get it already packaged. Okay, so my nougat has cooled down completely and set, and so we're ready to cut it up. Now I've run a knife, not a sharp knife, just a butter knife around the edges that don't have the parchment hanging over them. And that then allows me to, this is quite heavy, lift out my nougat and plunk it on the counter so that we can cut it up. Now as you can see, this is a very wide, can you see how wide, there we go, a very wide piece of nougat. So I do quite small pieces, and so they're sort of flat, quite flat, and then a little bit longer. So you can cut this up however you want. You can do bigger slices, smaller slices, whatever you please. I would say I normally cut this in half, but it's very, very thick. So I find that it's easier. So I'm gonna go maybe 1/2-inch slice. Big sharp, this is an 8-inch chef's knife. And I'm just going to rock it back and forth till I get to the bottom. And then there you go. So that's the first slice. You can see the inside. It's got a lovely, it's full and lots of almonds, a lovely full distribution of almonds through there. And your knife cuts straight through the almonds. And then from there you just cut it into bite-sized pieces. Again, whatever sort of size you're looking for. Yeah, that looks about good. So if you do that, and then that, so you get nice little long bite-sized pieces. And then I will just wrap these in some of this brown baking parchment. Wax paper works well. I find with this it's a little bit sticky, so wrapping it in a cellophane, it tends to stick a little bit, so I prefer a non-stick sort of surface like the baking parchment or the wax paper. And so I just wrap it around and then twist the ends. I can just use a little piece of this actually and show you. There we go. So if you just take a little piece, and this isn't quite the right size, but you get the idea, and you wrap it around, and then you just twist the ends like that. Then you get your little cute bonbons like that. And so that's how I wrap those up, and then just put those into a plastic bag with a little ribbon or a tie or something on them, and that is a fantastic gift. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please try them. They're very, very yummy. You can put other things in them too besides almonds. You can put dried fruit in them if you want. You don't need to use almonds. You can use other kinds of nuts. But the nougat itself is a great base for all sorts of goodies inside. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please do give me a thumbs up. And I will post the recipe below. And please subscribe to see what else I'm up to. Thanks.